In my last video I had a look at what Raqs Asayah is, and this one I want to spend a little bit more time looking at the cane, how to pick one and what sort of things you can do with it. Hi, I'm Kashmir, and most of you will already know that Raqs Asayah is dancing with a stick. It's commonly associated with Egypt, but you'll also find it in Lebanon and to a lesser extent Saudi Arabia, although that's quite a different style entirely. A common question people ask me is, how high should the stick be? Well, it depends on how high you are. Generally speaking, you want it below your belly button, about a hand width below, but within kuri is fine. If you do the Ghawazi style, where you actually put the stick from belly to belly and walk around each other, then both sticks must be exactly the same length. So, what sort of sticks? There's big ones, fancy ones, plain ones, thin ones, thick ones. Well, your choice of stick will depend on your dance, and your dance in turn, of course, will depend on your choice of music. Here are some options. Now, I prefer quite a heavy stick, a walking stick. That's because I quite like a very folky cane, and this is good. It will swing nicely. You can thump it on the floor without it actually breaking. You can balance it. It's heavy enough to balance as well. Some people prefer something a little more glitzy, and it might even go with your costume. So this goes with my little blue dress. Much lighter. It's really more for posing than anything else. You can't do an awful lot with it. You can swing with it. Certainly couldn't balance it. Ada Noor insists that a woman should never have a stick with a hook because it might catch your costume, and she's right. It happened to me, and it was extremely embarrassing as I swung around and the hook got the spot in the back of the skirt. You can have this or something a little bit plainer. So you might want to actually practice, for example, with just a plain dowel. Make sure it's big enough to be able to hold in your hand. Speaking of which, these little tiny bamboo canes, I find completely useless. They're too small to do anything with it apart from just hold it. You can't really swing them. They haven't got weight. You can't balance them. They're just too light. So you want a bit of weight in your cane. So holding your cane. Your cane gets held in between your thumb and finger in there. Okay, you don't grip it in your hand, you hold it in there and you actually let it fall and release. You have it up and you just let it fall and then you flick it back up again. So you're actually relaxing your hand on every turn, and that way you don't need to worry about putting rubber bands on the end. You're not going to get cramp in your hand because each time you hold it you actually release it again. Sometimes you see that really fast stuff tends to be not actually Egyptian. So what do you see? What can you do with a cane? Well, like I said, swinging it is quite common but not needed. You can hold it. You can just, you can hold it, you can pose with it, you can put it above your head, you can swing it, you can bounce it on the ground and kick it back up again. You can throw it, you can balance it, and some people go for some tricks. So if you do things like actually throwing it and catching it round the other way, you don't want a hook on the end. Apart from the fact it's hard to catch, it throws the balance out. For that you'd use a straight stick. You can do double-handed. I've seen people just put it on the ground and walk around it, and like I said, swinging it. So in Saudi you tend to actually swing it reasonably slowly, about one swing per step if you're actually walking, so it's not a fast one. You will see it really fast, and as I said, that is actually more of a Lebanese style. Yes, not all cane dance is Saudi, and not all cane dance is Egyptian. Lebanese also have a cane, and with that you'll always see the dancer actually in a bra belt. That's one way, that's probably Lebanese, but you can't always tell. Brown belt and high-heeled shoes, almost guarantee it's Lebanese. What makes it one or the other? It comes down to the driving force, which is the music. So the music drives the movements and the attitude and the approach. So now, if you want to do stick, there's only one way to do it. You have to practice. So buy yourself a stick. If you haven't got much money, just start with a dowel, okay? It needs to be okay so you can actually hold it in there in your thumb, between your thumb and finger, and practice. And don't forget to actually practice with both hands, because you never know when you might need it on the other hand.